All right. Hello again, everyone, and greetings from this time, Ethiopia. I'm here to introduce to you my second 4-week class, which is going to have a slightly different schedule than the other. It's kind of outside the term for Ali. Stay tuned for the unusual scheduling. It's because I have to leave the country for a couple of weeks right in the heart of the fall term. But what I want to do is just introduce this second class, Postcards from Africa. The idea behind this is I thought we need more content from Africa in the Ali lineup, and I thought, well, this is my 4-week way of trying to at least add to that. In previous classes, some of you that may have taken them with me, I've talked about Somalia, I've talked about Ethiopia, I've talked about South Africa. So this time around, I'm going to do 4 countries I haven't talked about in classes I've taught before. And I'm going to try to use each country as kind of a regional representative of the larger part of Africa within which it sits. I'll explain that in just a second. So it's 4 countries, but it's also as much as Africa as I can cover. Obviously, I can't do justice to the incredible diversity of Africa in just 4 weeks, let alone 8 weeks. But I will do my best to give you a very firm grounding in kind of African politics, society, culture, and everything included therein. And hopefully, it'll give you a nice foundation to be able to build perhaps more on your own if you're interested in exploring that after the class finishes. So each week we'll choose a different country. So let me walk you through what we're going to do. First week, we're going to do Morocco. I'm going to use Morocco as kind of a springboard to talk about the Maghreb, otherwise known as North Africa. North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa have a interesting history. They're all Africa, but a lot of people in South-Saharan Africa think of North Africa as really more the Middle East. Are they correct? Well, in that first lecture, we'll talk about that. Then we're going to focus on Morocco and talk about things like the Arab Spring, how that affected North Africa, how democracy in Morocco might relate to something like democracy in Tunisia or Egypt or anywhere else. But within Morocco, we're going to talk about how Morocco, for instance, Morocco has very, very strong links in many ways to Europe. But at the same time, Morocco has a very contentious history with Europe, and it's largely due to another territory we'll talk about in that lecture, which is Western Sahara, which has declared independence, but Morocco claims as its own territory. Morocco also hosts several exclaves belonging to Spain in northern Morocco, which we'll talk about. And then we're going to focus on, well, how Morocco became what it is in modern times. So that's our first country. Second country is Senegal. And I'm going to talk about Senegal again in its regional context. Why did Mali, for instance, develop right next door, develop an extremist presence on its soil, whereas Senegal did not? What's the secret to Senegal? And part of it has to do with the nature of its society, which is composed of these very interesting Sufi brotherhoods, among other things. We'll also talk about, for instance, why Senegal has such a wonderfully rich music scene, and how, where that came from and how it relates to modern Senegalese politics, society, and culture. So that'll give us a chance to explore kind of politics of West Africa. So we've got North Africa, West Africa. What's next? Well, the next country, our third week, is going to be Nigeria. When we talk about Nigeria, we again have periods of democracy, but also periods of authoritarian rule. I'll talk about some of my favorite authors from Nigeria, for instance, and how they had to write in exile for so long because they were kind of wanted by the authoritarian leaders for their outspoken criticism. So we'll talk about not only the origins of Nigeria's politics, but also its oil-based economy, its tremendous diversity in terms of its population, indigenous groups, Muslims, Christians, a north-south divide. And we'll also use it as an opportunity to explore, again, a different region of Africa. So the focus will be on Nigeria, but it's a nice excuse to be able to say, well, how does Nigeria relate to all of the countries around it? Finally, we're going to get to our last country, the fourth week, which is going to be Rwanda. Rwanda has its own history, parts of it beautiful, parts of it horribly tragic, by which I mean the Rwandan genocide, which I will certainly talk about in that lecture. I'll also talk about post-genocide Rwanda and how that relates to events in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we're going to look at Rwanda far beyond the Rwandan genocide, and we'll look at contemporary Rwanda, but we'll also look at the larger region, again, in which it's settled, in which it's located. And that will give us a chance to kind of look at, well, Eastern Africa. So hopefully between these four countries, we'll have North, South, East, and West, four specific countries, but a larger regional snapshot as well. And hopefully that'll give you a sense of, well, now that you're fascinated with Africa, time to explore more on your own, or maybe time for me to do snapshots from Africa or postcards from Africa too in a later time. But that's all I'll say for now. I'm looking very much forward to teaching the class and very much forward to seeing you there. All right, that's all.